of impersonating. I'm and manoeuvring the.
We got that on film.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That should be better. Oh dear. Apologies for that. I found out from your comment, thank you. Yeah, you only heard audio. Fixed. Well, that just shows how awful my luck is with live streaming. Right. Right, let's go back and talk about what's been happening. Try again. So here, let me just go back with the replay. He attempts a thrust. My usual, one of my favourite ways to do a parry is an upright parry. I'm probably going to go around for a riposte. He does a sloping parry, catches me. I'll show the bit of the pattern first. Worth a shot. So, on that exchange, I'm going to do an upright parry. There it is. You can see it's slightly gone off, and it's around my hands, but it's bounced off my sword, so the momentum's lost. I've parried it successfully, hence the ding. I then try an immediate inside line, so rather than pulling loads back and then swinging around, or whirling clumsily, like in the TV, movies and all that. It's just turn, bang, and then I'm ready for another parry. And then I pull ever so slightly back, only from here to here. I try another inside line parry, but I can see he's ready. I try, because he had his hands up here, I tried to cut his arms, but he lowered himself, so he still parried it. Actually, no, he did not. Haha! If he's acknowledged it, I was just low enough to catch his hand. That probably would have been, since it was next to the Quillons, just the upper hand there. Here it is, slow motion. Whack, riposte. Parry, riposte. Both times, I'm having the sword point upright, keeping my hands low so I don't get cut in the arms. Go through that again. If I raise my arms to do that same type of defense, there's a strong chance I'll get my hands and forearms cut. So I go here. Notice hands are raised slightly, which is a bad habit. I should keep them next to my hips, basically. Afterwards, I've got my sword here. I'm not going to pull, swing hard. It'll just be an immediate from A to B, direct line. He preempts this because he does know me quite well. Goes into a sloping parry. Parried. Caught, but you can see I was aiming for his head. He's going to whirl around, and I kind of know him well as well, so he does a turn of the hands, turns it into a cut, almost directly down, but slightly diagonal from his left, my right. You can see I've already got my defense braced, but the Quillons are pointing forwards. I'm going to have them facing outwards to my right. There it is. Ding. He hit it very hard. That's why you actually see my hands drop slightly after the hit. And then I'm aiming for his hands, and I'm a hand carver, so I'm good at chasing them. So although he's pulled them from down here to there, I actually thought I was not going to hit, but here it is. He tries lowering it. Caught him. So it would have been just next to the Quillons. I think his Quillons were pointing forwards towards me, ready to attack again, but I'd swung in already. And then you can see I'm going up into a defensive stance because I thought I wouldn't be lucky and then I'd get swung at again. But it turns out it was not necessary, so it looked as though I just saluted him instead. That time. I'm unsure about that exchange, because I hear a plastic impact, as though someone got hit. I don't know if that was the edge or what. He charges in. Thrusts. Now, this is the thing I was trying to say earlier. Notice, I'm going to do a parry, Now, if he thrusts from down low, where he started, and thrusts upwards, aiming for, anywhere from the shoulders to my head, with the parry that I do, it would have blocked it. What he does instead is you'll notice that instead of having his hands low and his sword point going high, he's going to raise his hands from down here above his head, so that basically, instead of my quillons acting as a line, let's say across here, stopping him and kind of pushing him away from me, because he goes from high and is thrusting low, downwards rather at me, it actually goes over my defense and makes it completely useless. Here it is. Like I said, he raises his hands so that although I did do a good defense against starting a thrust from down low, he's preempted this, raised his hands, and actually averted my parry by thrusting over it. Yes, I think on that particular exchange, he does a simple cut. I think he stepped slightly outwards to his right, my left, and then I do an upright parry, but because he's slightly further out, he gets around my defense and cuts my head behind it. Here. Just barely, but I do, it seems, feel a hit and acknowledge that I've been struck. Head. I'll show that again, which of course has a slow motion. Good, I'm glad you can hear me now. So, on that one, I think this is the one where I do the deflection. So instead of doing a parry, as in just stopping his force, I'm going to use the back edge of my sword to sort of bat him away. There it is. I raise... This is going to be... I'll need to replay that again. He tries to cut in. I'm dipping my sword point now. I'm then going to use the back edge of my sword to swat him that way. It's a very close call. You can see he's just inches away from stabbing me in the chest. But I'm in time. And if you look... I did have a... Here it is. I know it's all blurry, but if you look at the shine of my sword, his sword is not on the inside, but on the outside of that. So he is on his left, my right. And I've basically swatted him aside using the back edge of the sword instead. This would have beaten him aside if I'd used the tip of the sword and you'd see him knocked away. But because it's so close to my hand, there's not much... there's not so much of a swing. So instead of him being battered away, he's kind of bound up. Which, in a sense, I'd say is actually better. Because if he gets swatted away, he's kind of open and loose and, can maybe turn around and turn that momentum from swatting him into whirling it into a cut at me. Whereas here, because I've done this deflection so close to the handle on my hands, I've still got plenty of force because I'm using my, my actual arms to take him aside, but he's held there for a minute, so I know where his sword is, and I'm safe while I do this. Whack! He does the right idea, which would defend against it, which is a sloping parry, but if I show it once more, he's going to try dropping under me and then sloping so that he parries, but he's just ever so slightly too late, so that happens, and you can see the sword follows late. I have no idea what he's talking about, what you showed, Andy. I cannot remember what the lesson was in March. This was a bad idea of mine. So, shown again. I'm thinking, I know. He's out of range. We supposedly can't hit each other, so I'll do a one-handed cut using my bottom hand. Whack! Oh, this is a smart idea. Except it's not, because this is Edmund we're talking about, and he charges in. So he's going to get a solid blow with both of his hands cutting on my head. And you'll see from where I impact, you can't see the shine of the sword quite so well, but I was basically halfway down my sword. Whereas if you're doing that kind of cut with one hand, he should be out of reach to cut at me while I'm cutting around just close to the tip of my sword. This totally failed, and I got the worst of it, even if it was a double hit. Same problem with him going around my defense again. Same problem with him going around my defense again. You can see a pattern in his exploitation, because we do know each other well, but he's the better fencer. That time, he exploited the angles, so let's go into that slow motion replay. I do the upright parry. We end up here, so we're kind of crossed swords. There's my sword, there's his sword. So we're kind of, while we're thinking of a clever idea to try out, in which I'm a bit too slow to figure one out, we're still bound up here. So no matter how much we do any pushing and, you know, trying to maneuver it, it's not going anywhere. His sword is stuck up here, my sword is stuck up here. He cleverly uses the quillons of his sword still up. He doesn't take his sword completely away so I can hit him, but while he's got the handle area of his sword around here, locking me up so I can't do anything, this tip of his sword will dip low and cut at me. Watch closely. Whack. So I get hit. He does not. Again, it's all about the angles. The quillons were high enough that I was still being blocked, but his tip of the sword was able to freely cut me. So with that one, I've done a usual kind of upright parry, but knowing if I take a direct line from A to B, he is getting used to me doing that. So I decide, rather than I've parried, I'm on my right, and I'm going to cut from my right at his left, I actually go around slightly, not completely whirling television style, but I'm going to go, excuse me, from my left onto his right. Whack. Only problem is, while I'm cleverly doing all of this, he hits me. I suppose you could say it's the better trade-off if this were a real fight, because I've been cut around the upper arm, whereas he has been cut in the head. However, I am not particularly satisfied with being hit whilst hitting. It just seems like a bad idea. So I just call it a double. This is an interesting exchange. So here, he attacks. That ding is most likely my quillons. He attempts a thrust. I take him offline. And then I try, kind of like I said about the last one, where I'm whirling around, and although this one's a bit more exaggerated for extra force, I am going to cut from his left. He successfully defends. This is a sloping parry, so I've tried to cut, looks like around his head. His sloping parry is very well done because his hands are raised above his head, which some beginners forget to do. And when they do that, because their hands are level with their head, you know, instead of cutting him in the head, I cut their hands instead, and that's a free hit for me. But he does it well, so he's close to the handle, but he's parried me. Then he's going to whirl around. Now, this is where it gets clever. You can't quite see it, but I'm expecting... I don't know why I'm using my hand. I'm expecting to parry around here, thinking that, you know, he's struck high, I've gone high, he goes high, 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 high. Everything happening all up here. He is instead, if you look at the angle of his cut, he lowers it. I think he's aiming for around my kidneys, or, you know, the lower torso, so that he actually goes underneath my plan's defense. So then, oh wait, there's one more attack. Sorry, I'm being preemptive here. So he does another high attack. I do another high attack. It's that same sloping parry, and this is where it happens. Okay, so I'm expecting to parry up around here, so I've got all of this covered. My up right area, well, my up right and left I can adapt. But he preempts that, and he cuts very low. He has caught me kind of on my shoulder, but you'll see he's gone under my defense. And I've gone off the stage. Kind of losing footing there. Mind you, he makes me lose my footing a lot. Parry, riposte. That's the more basic thing that I'm trying to do in many of the exchanges as the initial riposte. So, someone does an attack high anywhere from, well, really my torso upwards. I should keep my hands low, ideally around my hips. I have raised them a bit too high here, but I've successfully parried. And then I've gone around. I've got a simple line. I go from A to B, cut, whack. And you can see he's done that attempt at a sloping parry, but it's happened late. So he had the right idea, it was just a slow reaction. And you'll notice I wasn't saluting him afterwards. Even when you think you've hit someone, it's a good idea to be ready. So there, I'm expecting, after you've done a sloping parry, he's going to go whack and hit me, you know, from my right, his left. It turns out that the exchange is over. He acknowledges he's been hit, but it's a fair point to mention as an aside, even when you think you've done a hit or when stuff you're doing is over, you should still be ready to defend or attack afterwards, and this is a good technique. Even though it looks like I'm just saluting him or doing some kind of pose. Parry, riposte, ready for the next hit. Doesn't happen though. He's good at this as well, incidentally. Remember that one-handed cut he did earlier? Well, I did earlier at him, which failed. He did a good version, knowing that I don't chase as much. How many viewers have I got? 1. Haha! There we go. But, here it is. So he raises, and then he's going to use probably his left hand, his bottom hand, cut downwards because my right leg is slightly exposed. I could have either closed my legs together and then cut at him, or done some kind of parry. However, I didn't see it coming at all, so free hit. Looks like it caught just under the knee. There's my laugh. Haha, oops. Yeah, I know what he said back then. If I try these types of tricks like a strike with one hand, he says, well, you know what? I'm going to show you how to do it better. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. This is a really nice exchange. It's a different type from what you've been doing earlier. Earlier, all the previous exchanges, you see, it's basically Actually, I'm showing a lack of initiative on that. He's chasing me and doing the hard swings. Here, it's very different. We're playing around. This is going to sound like an innuendo, but playing with our tips. Ha ha ha. But seriously though, we're just here, just ever so slightly out of reach. So neither of us can hit each other yet, unless we take a step closer. But it's just barely, so it's dangerous still. And then what happens is he tries, because we're just, you know, seeing if someone tries to beat the sword aside, if someone tries to thrust into it, or, you know, try some kind of binding action. So this is why we're all here. We're just kind of feeling each other out and trying to test what happens. And then he takes the initiative and tries a swing, probably a hand carve. So, but of course, I am the hand carver. I know these tricks. I'm used to them. So I parry. I'm just going to turn my quillons in. They're currently forwards and pointing with one towards the floor. But this one's going to be pointing out this way. Oh no, sorry, he attacked from my right, his left. But still, I turn the quillons this way then. And then I've parried him. And then I riposte. Well, I then try the same trick at him and catch him. But I'm just going to let you appreciate for a moment the sheer impact that he has. Not this exchange, sorry. Here it is. Just the power. I'm going to turn it up a bit. Watch how hard he hits. This isn't something that's disallowed, but just shows the sheer power in a sword. Right. Here's my parry. Watch how much my arms drop in response. It's a kind of a bounce. It's like a spring, kind of just a oof. I don't do quite as powerful cuts as he does, but obviously... Wham! Parried. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, yes. Whack! I'm out of here. What? And you can see, just like I mentioned earlier, I'm preparing just in case he does some sort of retaliation hit. This isn't like sport fencing where you've got a fraction of a second difference between, you know, where people can hit and it counts as a double or not. In historical European martial arts, it can vary, but there's usually something like a tempo or something where if around the same time as I'm hitting him, excuse me, he hits me, even if you can kind of see a delay between the two, it's still... And there's also afterblow rules where actually, let's say I've hit him and then afterwards he hits me. If I haven't reacted to that, it still counts as if we've both hit each other. Even if I technically did hit him first. The fact of the matter is, we still hit each other. It's a fair point to note. So, again, after I've done a successful or unsuccessful... nice one. This is a squinting cut. So yeah, moving on. So this, he is going to start from here. This is very blurry. Out of that. I don't know. Now this exchange. Right, so he's going to perform something known as a squinting cut. His is a jumping one because he's very energetic, but just for exaggeration almost. But what he's going to do is he's actually going to have his bottom hand above his top hand. And he's sort of going to lever the sword so that it's kind of like that thrust I mentioned earlier where because his hands are high and he's cutting or thrusting downwards at me, he goes over my defense, which should cover a high target, but his new angle means that he can still cut me. I just stopped at a perfect spot. You can just see the moment of realization. I die. Oops. I was hoping, my plan, if you look at my side, I was thinking he'd try some kind of beat or attack. I was going to drop my sword point so he whirls at the air, re-engage and thrust. One of my most recent videos talked about how this tactic works. But it works better against people who are new or people who are intending to do some kind of beat. Edmund tends not to go for, say, beat the sword aside, hit the head. And as you see there, he just cuts the middleman and just immediately goes for the head. First intention attack. Whack! So I did drop the point, engage with a thrust. I think it's slow motion. Yeah, here it is. Drop my point. So there it is downwards, which took my defense out of the way. And then I tried to re-engage with thrust as an afterblow. So we've kind of caught each other, but mine's a slight stab to the hand and his is a solid blow to the head. So we're engaging here. I'm trying that riposte from an upright. He's doing a sloping parry. I've actually cancelled my attack because I already know by this point it's not going to work. And I'm getting ready to do an outside parry on my right, his left. I guessed correctly what he was going to do, but he... actually, I'm confused myself. Hang on. What did he do? This is actually... I'm going to need to check this one. I think, rather than going all the way to the outside, he actually does it, rather than going from his left, he kind of cuts downwards, you know, a vertical chop. And then he's just slightly inside my sword, so I don't parry him, but he cuts in. So it almost looks like he's cutting from my left, his right. I think he does, actually, but he deliberately started from just inside my sword, so it isn't actually parried. I need to practice that one myself. Let's have a look at that again. Whoosh! Completely out of nowhere. Again, it's about these crazy angles you can take. Even the most basic cuts and stuff that doesn't require... That was where I cancelled my attack. Yeah, I froze! I lost the initiative. But I think it might have been because I saw he was already going to parry it. I'm not sure. That... there's his attempted thrust or cut, launching in his classic style that frightens the life out of people. I do my riposte. Again, I realise I can't just go for a direct line, so I turn around and cut from my left. Cut! He tried the sloping parry, which is the correct way to... You know, a legitimate way to defend, but you can see he's just ever so slightly behind me. So he's following after I've gone in. I catch him on. It looks like the arms when I was trying to go for his head. They just happen to be in the way. And... so while I'm stepping backwards, as you can see, he looks like he's about... Look at me. Looking upwards with a sword. Oh shit. Him with the sword up here. I'm going to kill you. So, of course, my immediate thought is parry that thing. So I prepare a defense, but as you can see, my foot slips off the stage. Whoa! Yes, my footwork is not the best, especially on uneven ground, it seems. There it is. That, I changed the tempo. Normally, as you've seen before, after this, normally... As you've seen in all of the previous exchanges, it would be Edmund attacks, Jonathan defends, Jonathan ripostes, Edmund defends, Edmund ripostes. Then I changed this on purpose, so watch, I don't riposte. I deliberately pause myself and actually await for his retaliation, whatever it's going to be, after his first attack fails, and then turn it into a Parry Riposte. And because I'm not spending my efforts and energies hitting him on the first riposte, I don't have to kind of recover after swinging and then pull back and then riposte. It's kind of like how cars, you know, take their time to brake and you can't kind of just stop and start. You take that momentum and then you kind of, when you slow down, you're forcing yourself to slow down and then you can start going in the opposite direction, like a car stopping and braking and then reversing. Because I don't put the momentum into a first riposte, I've got that momentum left and I can just immediately riposte on a second. Watch. 1, 2, riposte. That changes it. 1, 2, riposte. Changes the whole tempo. So it's identical in technique, you know, the actual way of parrying and riposting to what I've done before, but because I changed the way it was done, like I said, by changing the tempo and the momentum of it, changes the whole way it's done. Disarmed! So on this exchange, let's see the comments. Nothing more, okay. He does that, I do that, riposte. He takes my sword! Because at that point, if you look... Now, you'll notice when he first attacks on this exchange, he starts at a distance range. By that I mean he's cutting towards the tip of the sword, and it's the maximum reach here. Not that one, sorry. That one he just immediately got me past my defense. Here I'm in a weird version of Boar's Tooth. I'm not in the best position. So, first attack. At his maximum distance. He parries. We've gotten quite close because he loves to charge in. Second attack. He's doing a bit more of his work, which is kind of a turn of the hand to cut. He's cutting above. Then I riposte and try a similar thing again. This time, on his third attack, watch his left hand. He's so close, because of the way he charges in, that he actually grapples with the sword handle in between my hands. You'll see, of course, I've got black gloves on. He's got red and black gloves on. He actually grapples the sword. And then, of course, my sword is completely locked up because he's grabbed onto it and I can't move it anymore. And then he can just freely cut me with the sword as if it's a one-handed sword. Whack. It's quite humorous, though, that he did it with such surprise and force that he actually managed to take it out of my hands and disarm me. Which just shows how much I was caught off guard by it. It is a slow motion. Yeah. Grapple and hit. And he does it. He doesn't grapple the sword, then hit. It basically happens simultaneously. I tried to... The reason I ran forward and looked like an idiot there was because I was trying to see if I could close in myself and kind of bind of his sword, but he went underneath it and I just kind of ran past like an idiot. We'll show that again. So my plan is I'm going to take his sword here, maybe push it offline and thrust at him, or kind of engage at it and cut. There are various choices when you do a bind. But notice he dips his point, so I'm chasing at the air. His sword would be here and would have bound. He's dropped his point here, and I die. Oops. Yep, I even saw it in that instant. Disengage and thrust to the chest, like I said. Oh, yeah. He disengaged and he didn't even thrust forwards. I just kind of ran on to the point, which is a little bit silly. But that's sparring for you. People die for silly reasons. That time, he did the parry and it looks like... Yeah, let me have a look at it again. Yep, I do the cut. He's done the correct cut. It looks like I've caught him on somewhere like his arm, well, his elbow there, or his head there. He's done the parry so close to his body that because of my angle, I've actually cut him still. If his sword was slightly further out and didn't spring so far in, excuse me, or he'd moved his body out to his left, my right, then this would not have happened. But hindsight is 20/20. I think we'd thought part of the stage was coming free or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think that was a hand carve on his account. I'm testing the point. It's kind of like that exchange earlier, the really juicy one. Deja vu. But then he closes in. Because, of course, on his earlier one, we stayed at distance and I won. This attempt, of course, he's tried closing in. And I just so happen to have succeeded on that one. But he had the right idea. Double. He cut this time up from down upwards instead of from up downwards, caught me off guard, and of course cut my hands underneath the cross. I thought I hit his hands. Failed parry on my account. And then I've got slow motion. No, I haven't. Okay, so if I review... Go into... go that one again. It's not this one. Oh, yes, it is. Yes. So... Here... I'm just going to go, thinking I was going to cut at his hands, but I tried twice and it didn't work. Anyway, so now he tries an engage. I parry. I try riposte. He parries. This is looking like deja vu. And my hands have ended up a little bit high. This is a problem because everything underneath here is completely exposed to an attack. He then whirls around and, kind of like he did earlier, I'm preparing an emergency defense, barely reacting in time. If he was cutting at my heads, I might have parried it, but my hands were way too high, and I totally ballsed up that parry. So, whack! He cut me in the shoulder. So in fact, actually, he was still aiming high, but I just raised my arm so much that the parry was pretty much guaranteed to fail. I'm saying yes as in, yes, I've definitely been hit. Not yes as in, I'm good. Let's have a look at that exchange. Not this one. Okay, starting from 8. He attacks, of course, from his left, my right. I do a sloping parry. He's battered my sword so hard that I've gained an immediate force to try and slam down. Looks like I'm going for a vertical chop at his head. That's an interesting change of the angle. So he looks like he was going to whirl around. So it looks like, if you see the final attack that he does, it looks as though he's going to kind of whirl around high, but he instead kind of stops his momentum and starts again and cuts my hands. Watch. Parry with a hard swing. Riposte with a hard swing. Parry, my hard swing. And then, if you see this position here, anyone would tell you he's going to go whoosh, chop down, probably on my right, his left, neck or head or shoulder, somewhere like that. But instead, he then changes it. Hand carve. Clever. Worth a shot. He did the same thing back to me. I'll show you how to do it better, Jonathan. Thank you. Okay. As you can tell by now, he is definitely a better fencer than me. Mind you, he is champion level, so... A lot of angle changing I'm noticing now that I'm analysing his style more. I'll bear that in mind. Again, changes the angle. Cuts from underneath instead. Yeah, I was going to stop, but... One more exchange, okay. We do that a lot in sparring. So yes, that's that bit of sparring footage. Let's see. Hmm? Got plenty of these dry jokes. Yes, I think it's dying laughing. Yep. Right. Now let's have a look. I've got plenty of more sparring footage, don't you worry. So let's review. No. Here it is. So this was back in December. This was in December 2019. It's just got a picture of my intro, so I'm not sure what kind of sparring it was. Let's have a look. Okay, this time it is military saber. I am up against, coincidentally, another person called Edmund. He does a bit of British military saber and a little bit of the sort of Polish-ish style, sort of almost hussar style. You'll notice I spend a lot of time in this position. It looks a little bit like a medium guard, but I'm actually trying to do outside guard. So the sword is on my right. My basket hilt, you can see here, it's a little bit difficult. It's blending of the black glove a bit, but you can see the metal guard here is outside. So if he attacks from his left, my right. It's an automatic parry. I don't have to do anything. But he knows that, so he's going to try a straight vertical. So if we show that again, let's see. I don't think it does a slow motion. No, it doesn't. So what's going to happen is, he attempts an attack straight vertically at my head. I'm going to do a Guard of St. George, which is a horizontal. I hold my sword aloft, and I horizontally parry the sword. So I'm up there, and kind of making a bar above my head. And then once I've done that, I just simply use my wrist. I don't cut with most of the other parts of the body, like the full arm cuts you've seen of the long sword. I'm just using my wrist to turn the sword and then cut in, and it looks like it catches him on his forearm. Watch. Parry, riposte. Out of there. He does try a riposte, cutting from his left at my right in a sweeping cut, but I've backed off before he could land it. I didn't have to parry. Again, I spend a lot of time in outside guard because it is just a good defensive posture. Yeah, might have caught my hand. You see there, it's much easier to see it now that it's more of a front-on position, but my sword is turned slightly from your perspective now. It's turned slightly left, which of course is my right. Like I said, it's the outside guard, so if someone were to attack me in this sort of angle, apart from maybe lifting the point up to make sure areas like my higher targets, such as the shoulders and head, are covered, it automatically parries. I need to do very little to turn this into a defense. And it means that because people know this, either they're stupid and then they try attacking there and it's just a really easy parry riposte for me, or they do know this and are smart enough to try, other angles of attack, but it means they've got fewer options, so I don't need to think as much about what they might do, because there's all this, which is definitely not going to happen. That time I did an inside parry on the... That was an inside guard, which is just the opposite of an outside guard. So there, you'll see the quillen... Not the quillen, sorry, that's a medieval sword type of thing. The basket, rather, is turned into your right, which of course is my left. So I've got everything from here up to here is totally covered. He attacks quite hard and briskly. Cuts towards his tip because he's cutting, he keeps his arms close to his body. I think he's used to things like the tulwar and other very strongly curved swords. I do the parry on the inside. Like I said, easy defense. And then cut immediately afterwards. He's parried it. I'm doing a Guard of St. George. It's that horizontal bar I've mentioned earlier. But of course I haven't fully raised my hand yet. There it is, a full Guard of St. George. Looks like he's out of range. I've tried to cut, he parried, he swings and is out of range. Let's just watch that in full motion. So that's what all that load of flailing means. It looks like a load of swords just flinging about, but it's very particular techniques happening very fast. I tried to thrust, I did catch him, but he cut my head in a process. It was dumb of me to expose myself like that. This is a hanging guard. This, of course, means it can automatically turn into a Guard of St. George if I just turn the sword in. Excuse me, it also means I can turn to cut down. I can turn to cut from down up. There are lots of options from here. Here it is. I've turned it into a Guard of St. George, and then I immediately turn and cut at his forearm, which is exposed. Let's watch that again. So, I'm going to turn this into a horizontal bar. Then I'll just turn, not with the whole body. I won't whirl around like it's a TV drama. I'll just go, trip. Little turn of my wrist, if you watch my hand. Immediate. That's why I'm able to riposte so quickly. I'm not that fast and not particularly fit, but that method of cutting just does it so much quicker than swinging hard. He caught me in that one. Because, like I said, this outside guard parries high, but doesn't parry low. Unless I change it. Double. It's bad. No one got hit. I can see he's going to hit me, and I'm going to hit him, even before I've seen this exchange. Told you! So he cut my torso, I cut his head. That's bad. I don't like doubles. It means everyone dies. Okay, looks like he got in. This is Edmund, the same guy who was fighting me in the other video. Terrible, I got caught. Smart words. I tried on that last one. There, I'm trying to see if I can have my sword positioned. You'll see it's almost like a hanging guard. Not much of one. But I was going to have it so that my hilt is already facing my left. I was hoping to cut his head while also parrying him. Looks like this was a little bit overly optimistic. He hit me. Might have been because he was aiming to cut low. I cut in, but I didn't defend myself. That's a simple afterblow. We didn't defend ourselves properly. Terrible. Cut my leg. I'm not giving feedback on some of these because I'll admit sometimes I think, what was I trying to do? What was he trying to do? Someone died. Yes. He's caught my leg. Fencing can be a bit kind of improvised and, you know, haphazard. Sometimes. Yeah, doubles. Disgusting. Ah, same kind of thing. He's cutting low underneath my Guard of St. George, and then so he's done that. Aha, I've parried! He realises to go underneath, cut from his right, belly cut, and then I'm doing my riposte after the Guard of St. George, which I'm in now, which is to the head. Problem is, wham! We both hit each other. Terrible. I've hit him in the head, he's hit me in the torso, everyone dies. Good thing they're not real swords. Or, you know, not sharp anyway. They're certainly full weight steel sabres. He tries a moulinet, which is, you'll notice he does a little twirl right now. Didn't work. Because I am used to them. I knew that his moulinet, you know, his turn, I didn't react to it and flinch to the swing because I knew it was out of range. I knew it wasn't going to hit me. So when he does it, I barely react. And then, when his real attack comes in, Guard of St. George again, I parry. And guess what? Look! Oh, his head is exposed on my right, his left. Because he's in he's returned after he attacked downwards on my head. He's gone into an outside guard, my default position. So if I tried to riposte on my left, his right, he would have parried. Obviously, I'm not going to let him parry me, so wham! And then I realise, oh shit, he's going to... So he's tried a Guard of St. George, but he's lifted his hands so high, they've cut just straight forwards underneath it into his face. He's going to try and attack. Did he hit me? Oh, bollocks, he got an afterblow. So I tried to retract out of measure, and didn't think I even needed to parry, or didn't have enough time to parry, maybe. Easy. Guard of St. George, riposte to the head again. So we'll show that once more. Whack, whack. Now he's got his point out. We both got each other. That's terrible. I think I did a Moulinet there. Hang on, I was watching him. Oh no, I was pretending to cut from my right, his left. And then I actually changed the angle. Notice I'm stopped here. And then I change it from my left, his right. Whack! He tried to parry it, but he responded too late. And I caught him probably around the wrist. Let's show that once more, full speed. So remember, I feint an attack to cut around here. And I do a real attack around here. Not this one. This exchange. Watch again. There it is. That time I tried a feint where I was pretending to cut from underneath and then cut from above. But the problem is he did actually riposte and cut me in the meantime. So that was terrible. Apologies. It's a good thing I've improved at fencing since then, I think. I haven't had much chance because of lockdown. Do a little bit of testing. Whoop! Whoa! So, try that again. Just a little bit of a testing. This isn't an actual cut. And then here, I do a feint. He hits on my basket, I think. I then cut underneath instead of above where he thought it was going to happen. I know he's going to cut his sword. You can't see it in the video, but he is probably about here. So he's going to cut from his left to my right. So then I don't have enough time to try and turn it into an upright parry. So I turn it into a sloping parry where I'm diagonal. Watch. Here it is. And he hits my sword so hard, it actually makes it bounce and whirl around. Show that one more time. Test. There we go. One more set of tips. Oh, if you ever have any questions about these exchanges, I am here to answer. Yes, I changed the angle. I haven't cut the legs yet, so I figured... Yeah. If you watch this exchange once more... Hey! Hey, crap, what did he do? I need to watch this again. Okay, looks like he attempts a cut from his right. Inside guard. Actually, no. He cuts my sword itself. And I did a late parry, but he didn't hit me. I then do a whirling riposte. Just a turn of the hand. Whack! I tried to cut over. Don't think it succeeded because I caught his basket instead of his hand. Because I am the hand carver. And baskets stop the hand carver quite nicely. He then attacks. I think I did a really crude crude parry once again. He tries an attack. I'm in outside guard, my default position. I didn't even notice, but of course, like I said, it's an automatic parry. Then I've gone into a hanging guard because he's going to try something else. Whack! And then I try, of course, a lunge with my... That's why my legs are so stretched apart. And then whack! I've decided... I saw him going into just moments before. You'll see he's gone into this. I can immediately see his sword is about here. He's going into a guard of St. George, covering his head here. So, by this point, because he's parried so early before I've done my attack, I have enough chance to realise, you know what? If I try hitting his head or his torso, it's going to be defended. So I lower it a little bit, drop my weight down, and cut his leg instead. Wham! And he did try to riposte, but I got out of there, and he swings at the air. Let's show that exchange live. I won't comment over it for the moment. Here it is. So yeah, that shows what it looks like in reality. Very nice. I agree. Haha. He's probably been told to try and... Probably he was told to try and disarm me, because I do start in here, outside guard, or go into a hanging guard. So if someone were able to get close enough, they could grapple my sword and take it away. Or just grapple the sword and control it while smacking me as hard as they like. Excuse me. I don't want this to happen, so of course I'm going to resist. Double. Yuck. I think I even said that. I hate doubles. Ha! A light cut, but just a little bit catching at the angles for a free hit. I better that than a double. I got caught. That's an afterblow. He hit me, I hit him. Rubbish. Double. Rubbish. Ugh! More doubles. I apologise for that. And it looks like no one's... Oh, here we are, concurrent views. Aha, we have a new arrival. Right, let's have a look at the next bit of sparring. Wrist cuts. Says cutting. Ooh. Sabre finals. Wessex League. Hang on, I'm just finding... Ooh. It's not proper sparring. I haven't done... Oh, here we are. This is going back to May. I am the fighter on the right, with the crucifix on the mask and the chainmail on the back. And Timmy is the one with the green jacket. He is in plough. I'm testing his distance. Thrust. Not much happening. There we are. Hand carve. This is why it's good to have your quillons facing outwards if you're parrying, because then something like a hand carve is easily averted by the actual crossguard. It's not just a cruciform hilt like they say on TV. It's actually a functional object to stop you getting hit. So you can see there, I've cut him on the wrist. A little bit of testing. Ooh, ding ding. No. No. Yes. I timed it just after his thrust. That's, I think, another hand carve. Yep. Another hand carve. Yeah, I'm the hand carver for a reason. So you can see we're staying almost at slightly out of range, at the binding range with our swords, and then just testing each other out. He does a draw cut sawing across my neck because he actually disengaged and went in. I might be able to show that again. Hang on. Okay, that's there. Right. Here it is. He disengages, and then once he's got his line, now my sword is outside, so it's over across his left. So he's got a perfect line. He tries to thrust at my face, even though he didn't actually stab me. He's still able to get across and do a draw cut, you know, like sawing on my neck. Very nice. This is why exploiting the angles can be very good. He did a hand carve. Or something. Double. Yuck. Hand carve. That time I did a switch, just a turn of the hand. Not completely whirling and going all the way under with swinging my arms. Just turning with the hands and wrists. Let's see if I can show that one again. There. So I cut under. Admittedly, this is a bit of a crude one. It looks like he might have caught a thrust on me at the same time. Yes, he did. He cut me on the way in. I tried a feint. He did not react. He does often react to feints, which is why I tried them at him. I'm noticing I'm keeping my hands way too high on a lot of these exchanges. This is probably why I'm getting hit so often. I don't know why I had my hands so high. Oof. Yeah, way too high. If I'd kept my hands lower, so that I'm not getting hit on those areas like the hands on forearms so often, I probably would have done better in these exchanges, actually. Disengaged and caught the inside line again there. I was doing terribly in this particular exchange, I noticed. I was having an off day. Clearly. Ugh. I thought he was going to attack, so I did a sloping parry prematurely, and then whirled around and caught him, interestingly enough. Haha! Trying those testing thrusts and things, but he seems to be getting good against it. Bearing in mind, he was a complete beginner, not, you know, I say not too long ago, not too long, you know, a year or something before that or so. So he was certainly making good progress in his sparring against various different people, including champion level people. And he was showing that much, showing a lot of improvement. So here's some sparring from April. Let me see who's watching at the moment. One person. Good grief. We don't need to see my intro. There we go. Right, this time up against Ben, one of my co-workers. There's a strong chance he's going to attack from his left, my right. It's one of his favourite little tricks, but I'm getting used to it. He'll pretend to attack from a normal angle, but then he'll whirl around. You watch for it. Hand carve. There it is. Hand carve. One of my proficiencies. Now I'm just looking at the two people in the background, to be honest. They are... What the hell are they doing? Okay! That bizarre drama aside. I think he's trying groundwork on the guy. Anyway, what the hell is going on? I can't even remember anymore. There we are, standard parry and inside line. Yeah, so often well back for riposte. I tend to try and take a most direct line in a riposte. Terrible. Testing at distance. I'll probably try a hand carve. That's my usual tactic from here. Ooh. Nope. Ah, double. We both got each other. Terrible. It's a guard lady from Fury, by the way. Great for making powerful cuts. Or pretending you're going to do so. Same thing from the left. Yeah, so I feinted to do a more powerful cut, whirled around and cut. Quick. Oh, got hit on the head. Yep, I knew he was going to try something like a crimp or something to beat my sword aside. There it is. He attempts. I drop the sword away, whirl it round, cut to the forearm. Problem is, after I did that clever trick successfully, he still went and swung at me and I got hit. Caught me on the shoulder. But apart from that, it was a great idea. Apart from the fact that I got hit on the way out. That's what I get for my trouble. I half-sworded. That was me trying to be experimental. It didn't work, suffice it to say. I have not got much experience in half-swording. Baby stages. Smart. Yes, he is also getting a lot better. I did a little swirch there, so I just changed the angle. Let's watch that one again. So I've been cutting from above very frequently. From up, down, from up, down, from up, down. So I figured cutting from underneath would catch him by surprise, because I haven't done it yet. So hence, whack. There it is. I didn't even really commit to the first one. It was a pure feint to make him think it was more of the usual. Of course, you can't do it loads of times in a row. You still got to keep those tricks in reserve. Unless they really are, you know, not adapting at all to it. I did the same trick as earlier, but because I was out of measure when I did the upwards cut, I missed. And tried to do another cut as I recovered, and yeah, I got hit. It'll be good after lockdown to get some more sparring in, because I've improved since these times. I mean, this is April 2019. That was, well, more than a year ago. Nice hand carve. I'm surprised he hasn't done his little trick yet. He usually loves to do it. Maybe he was getting used to the fact that I am, well, quite adept at countering it. Fiore's window guards. Obviously primed for thrusts, but you can do lots of stuff from there as well. Right, excuse me, including cuts. Or we tried a one-handed cut. Hand carve. Aha, I did a feint on my left, his right, and then went and re-engaged on my right. Let me show that again. Ooh, that was too late. Hang on. Not this. Here. So I'm about to pretend I'm cutting from this side. But I'll actually be cutting from this side. But I'm aiming for the hands nonetheless. Watch. 1, 2. It's called a multi-intention attack. Whether you do a committed attack or a feint and you don't actually intend to hit at all, having a backup plan, a second step and a third step, really helps. Whether you're planning to reach that umpteenth step from the beginning, or whether it's just in case the first action doesn't work. It's always good to be able to continue and not freeze after your first unsuccessful action. Or even a first successful action. Right, let's have a look at another video. I remember that one. Oh boy. Music. Wow, 2018. This is really old because it's back with the old rubbish Microsoft Paint intro. I'm not even joking, I actually made that in Paint. Foam sabers, but the techniques are still the same. Tried to grapple, did not. Interestingly, that cut I did can actually turn into a guard. This one, if I stay at position, in British military sabre, that is called the half-circle guard or something like that. Or moon guard or some weird name like that. But it's specifically designed against people who are cutting at the wrist. Fun fact. It's not something that people use very often at all. But the cut itself is still quite a useful thing to perform. Obviously there I feinted from cutting from below. So here. And then went around, cut to the head. He's doing an attack. I'll parry that on the inside guard, which is there. He actually missed, but you get the idea. I'm in an inside guard now. That time I've cut to the legs since I've cut high so often. He's been cutting low on many occasions, but my cutting low is infrequent, so it means that when I do it, it catches him by surprise. Multi-intention attack there. Okay, so let's review that one again. Not this. That's just closing in and being more aggressive. Okay, so here I have done my inside parry. Let me get back into... Not this. Right, here he's starting in a hanging guard. He'll cut around from his right, my left. I will go into an inside guard, which is this here. I have stepped slightly backwards just in case he cuts, because he's cutting my legs a lot. I'm closing my legs together to try and avert him from cutting my legs again. So I then try, I know I'm going to try a direct line kind of riposte. So go from here, swing, which will be from my left out to his right. But I can immediately see if he retracts at all, which he does, I'm out of measure, so I improvise and turn it into a feint. So, out of measure, in measure, whack him on the head. Looks like this. Not this one. That was my thinking when that quick stuff happened. You'll see a lot of multi-intention attacks because he has... Well, that's a good one. Bearing in mind you can grab an opponent's blade, even if it's sharp. Here. So he started off... He is in an outside guard. I am in an inside guard. I don't know which of us is binding where, but still. I'm going to then realise that because we're bound, I know his sword is here. Bearing in mind that defence, as I've said in one of my previous videos, defence is not just blocking and stopping a sharp thing from doing a bad thing. It is also controlling the opponent. So I know his blade is there, so I'm just going to grab it. There it is. Now I know he can't move his sword anywhere anymore. And at that point, I can get a free hit, which happens. Whack! I went for his legs because he still had control of the bottom half of his sword, and he might have been able to, you know, manoeuvre it round to parry me up here, whereas his legs were completely exposed. He'd need to use his tip to defend. Again, lots of multi-intention attacks, so that I do. So there was a little, just a barely little movement of the wrist there. That's a real attack, of course. I missed, but here I'm just going from up here, and I'm going to pretend to cut down. Slight flinch, it makes him react, or actually, it looks like he didn't particularly react, and then cut into the wrist. Unless it caught his basket, but still. Direct riposte. So I should probably mention about the direct line riposte. Right. He attacks, I parry on the inside guard. Now I could swing and whirl and flail about and then try to hit him and give him lots of time to react, but I think my sword is here. I want to go from point A, point B, his face, and whack. Simple. Still can get a fair bit of power in it as well. Good one. Double. Double. Boulonnais. You can see that distance sometimes is a very subtle maneuver. You know, it can be a difference between here, very clearly demonstrated in this particular moment. He missed. If I had a bit more initiative, I would have riposted and swung at him, but there we are. But just a matter of inches. You'll see that when I attack, I tend to lunge. Like here, my right foot is stepped out, I attack. Whack him on the leg. That time, I did a slip of the leg. There, I catch him on the leg. That time, he tries the same thing at me. So, I cut from my left to his right on the leg successfully. He tries the same thing on me. He cuts from his left to my right. But because I took the leg out of the way, notice this is behind me, when it is normally positioned in front of me for a, military saber stance, he misses instead. I should have riposted though. That was terrible of me. But still, I didn't get hit. Boulonnais. I tried to grab the sword, but he did still actually swing and, yeah, catch my knee. One of these days I'll be champion material, not actually get hit very often. Ah! Like that. Again, lots of doubles and afterblows. Not something I'm satisfied with. I tried to slip the leg, didn't do it in time. Double. I think I heard an impact because it caught the clothing on that other one. As you can see, I'm trying to exploit distance a lot. He's slightly out of measure. Ah. Smart man. Yeah, notice I'm retracting, usually after a successful hit, before he can hit me, ideally. And I usually time my attacks either on a complete initiative, so he hasn't done anything, I attack, or I try to time it. Perhaps I try to go for something like a hand carve during his swings while he's kind of, you know, flailing off. Or I will do something like time it just after his swings. That was at the same time, hence a double. We got hit. We both hit each other. The best actions, usually, either I do an attack at the same time as his that is, you know, safe while he misses, or it's best to just do something like a parry or dodge and riposte. That was clear, that was very separate. But you can see I made sure to defend myself and then decided I was going to launch an attack completely out of, you know, out of neutral, where we're not really... Oh, you know what I mean. Parry, riposte, there's a good timing. Initiative, initiative, parry, attempt. Parry, riposte. Initiative, parry, initiative. Oh, and he riposted. Initiative, same again. So of course I'm switching between the role of the attacker and the defender. Even though I'm a very defensive fighter, I'm trying to give enough of a threat that it's scaring him into being on the back foot, or at the very least giving him lots of doubts and second guesses. You can see that he has got a reach advantage because he is noticeably taller than me. He's got longer legs, longer arms, and greater stature. So it is a bit of a problem for me, my lack of height, at only 5'7" tall. I tried to close the legs in, but he, it seems, realises and just closes in further. So even when I try to retract the leg, he is still hitting me. That's a good adaptation. Like I said, it's all about things like distance. So previously, he would swing at my legs, I'd pull my right leg away, he misses. And now he's adapted, so he closes in so far that he's actually, it's almost like he's aiming for my back leg instead. So by the time I'm trying to retract my leg out of the way, he's still hitting me. Good control. Good initiative. Oops. There we are. One of my favourite ways of doing a feint, and I mentioned this in my video about doing feints, not this bit, is here. So on this first action, no, here, I am deliberately trying a thrust. Now, second time, I know he's just seen me do a real thrust, so I look like I'm trying the same thing a second time, so I'm attempting, supposedly, this thrust. But it's actually a feint. I'm pretending to do something he has absolutely seen me do earlier. If you try to invent a pretend attack out of nothing, it tends to look less convincing, whereas basing it on something that you've already done for real actually makes it look more convincing to the opponent. So hence, oh, what's this? It's a thrust. No, it's a cut. It always feels weird when you get hit on the nose, even with those foam ones. Real tingling sensation and a bit of course, pain. Double. Yuck, I hate doubles. I tried to seize some initiative, but I hesitated a bit. Hesitation is not good when you're trying to seize the initiative. It opens up a timing for your opponent to exploit. Oh, I love that exchange. That's probably why. Oh, I forgot about that. The little level up moments. Right. Let's look at some more. Or even, I don't know if I've got the same people viewing or different people. But I'll tell you what, I think I shall end the live stream there since I'm not getting many comments or anything. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you later.